Welcome to everyone to our segment COVID-19 around the world. Today we have my friend Hilda Amaral from Sweden, Portuguese, but from Sweden. She's now living in Helsingborg and comes to share with us her perspective on how things are going in Sweden, that now is in the mouth of everyone in the world. Welcome, thank you very much to be in our show, Hilda. For the ones that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Um, well, most of all, I'm a fitness instructor. I've been working for quite some time, especially in Asia. I'm also a medicine student, and basically that's who I am. But I'm most of all known for my fitness coaching, and also being like a brand ambassador, especially for Spartan races. And that's it. Yes.
So an amazing, high value guest, medicine, fitness in Sweden, lived in Asia. We can ask for better. So tell us, and this is the thing that everyone is talking about. Please clarify what is the government, the Swedish government, telling its citizens.
Um, you know, Let me just clear something here, that all the information that I receive from Sweden, it's basically what I can translate, or it's being translated for me because I don't speak Swedish. So just that to be clear. But nowadays it's not difficult for us to translate. And my husband, he speaks Swedish, so I understand everything that is being done here. But this is just to be clear. So for my understanding is that Sweden is passing the information. First of all, is not being clear on the measures, and it's trusting its people to take actions on their own. So basically, it's like Swedish or Scandinavian countries. They're known to, for the social distance in the way they live. That it's basically like they stay home because it's cold. Nobody goes outside as much as in some Latin countries like us ourselves in Portugal. So it's basically the norm here. Everyone stays home, social distancing. It's normal. So they're trusting that that happens. And that's why like Sweden doesn't have as much as some other countries like UK, Italy, or Spain, because here it's kind of like normal people doing that. It's not normal for have like more than like a couple at home with their kids, and even like grandparents, they have their own houses. It's not like us Portugal. Sometimes we live in the same house and we have our grandparents with us or something like that, because they're not like in elderly homes. So here's like it's working because of that. But at the same time, if we compare with other Scandinavian countries, I don't believe it's working, because if you go outside, or like me, because I'm doing quarantine almost like since 23 of February, I just go and look at the window and it's normal, everything. It's like nothing is happening in the world.
And so the government is just trusting per se, or they have some guidelines that is the health ministry issuing some guidelines on how people to behave, or even information about what exactly the disease is or what exactly the virus is?
Yeah, they're giving information, of course, but basically the information they're giving is what we basically find online. Actually, we find online more than what they're saying, and they are keeping everything as like everything is under control for us not to worry. Kind of like what was happening in Portugal in the first place, that it was like downplaying the seriousness of the virus, which is a little bit weird. That's why everyone here is like, no, we trust the government, everything is doing fine. And we are having like basically 100 deaths per day here. I find it, it's very worrying. And the measures they have is basically like social distancing, washing their hands, and Yeah, basically just that. It's not if you for example, we have some situations that if you're sick, if you have some symptoms of COVID-19, you actually stay home until you have like more serious symptoms for you to go to hospital. Because if you go to the hospital with some mild symptoms, you are sent back home. You are not being tested, for example. So this is kind of like the first phases that we had in Portugal, for example, just to compare for some people to understand. Because basically it's just that people are trusting, here people are trusting, the government are trusting the people to be away, and try to not be in contact with the elderly homes. But
And are people following that? Do people change their normal behaviors? We've seen in some countries people being, or the norm in most of the countries has been people keeping themselves locked down. But at the same time, we see uh, a minority less of the population also almost making sure that they can we've seen recently in Portugal one news reporter trying to touch the everything. I don't know if you saw that, try to touch everything for before the Ministry of Health being doing whatever she was doing over there.
yes.
So we saw, for example, in the NBA, a player touching all the microphones of all the news reporters. So we have been seeing this um, personal downplay of something that they disagree. So since the government of Sweden is trusting its citizens, are the citizens um, worth of that trust, if we can say this? Are they actually implementing? Are they trying to avoid being in contact with elderly people? Are they trying to avoid to have unnecessary um, contact with other people, etc., etc.?
Yeah, I must say that actually, and that's why I think we are not seeing as much cases in some other places, because yeah, they actually hear, and we need to take our hats off because of that. Because Swedish, I'm sorry for my cat. Swedish people normally, like, they behave very well and they comply with the government, what government asks for them to do. The thing is, like, at the same time, that makes it the situation like not as serious as it should be, and people are not how can I explain? It's like people are still doing the same things. Okay, they still go outside, they don't wear masks at all, because here it's not asked for people to do it. And if they go to the hospital, they don't make any measurements. You don't see uh, doctors, you don't see people working in hospitals with masks or gloves, for example, nothing that protect them. um, if you go to transportation, same thing. So you actually don't see nothing like being done besides all those measurements of like distancing and avoiding some to go some places. They also ban like gatherings for more than 50 people. I'm not sure already if they lower that number or not, but I think it's still on the 50 people. So gatherings more than 50 are forbidden. But like I said before, you know, Sweden is a place that you don't have as much entertainment as some Latin countries, for example. And it's also normal, like after like 8 p.m., nobody's on the street. It's already like dark. Well, besides the cold, of course. Here you have like basically 2 months of good weather, which for me it's like the first days of spring. It's not even like hot here. So it's kind of normal that people um, you know don't be with each other as much. You normally go outside to eat to a restaurant at like 9 p.m. 9 p.m. here, everything is closed. It was a really like a culture shock for me in the beginning. So all this, like their social habits helps a lot and has like a huge impact on how there not as much death as like
Mhm.
in other Latin countries, for example, or other cultures.
And so this increase of cases, and even though it's not, so let's take an assumption here
Yeah.
that if the same measures will be applied in other countries where people touch each other more and visit their houses of friends, etc., that the numbers will be higher. Assuming that, transporting this to the health system, how is healthcare in Sweden?
Healthcare in Sweden, to be honest, because I haven't needed yet, but I've been there several times with my
But my
husband.
my question is if the government or the people trust that even if they have a higher number of cases, that the health system is prepared to, and it's not going to crash.
Well, that's the thing is like since the biggest number of cases was in Stockholm. They had crashed a little, but they are still, the system was used. They kind of manage to help the people that are infected, but that's why they're saying that if you have the symptoms, stay home, and they are
Because they
not.
didn't have the ability
They
of
don't
treat
have
them.
exactly to prevent that the system will crash.
Mhm.
The thing is like it's still crashing, but they're still managing because, like I said, yet we don't have the same amount of death or infected people like in some other countries. Because here everything kind of helps to maintain like a number of people infected or people that need, you know, healthcare treatments, like ventilators and something. So they kind of like have time to take care of it. That's a good thing, actually. So here, all things like their social habits, even the landscape of Sweden, how cities are like so far away and basically it's just forest in between and farms. So all of that, it helps to kind of like go a little bit slower than in some other places. Like for example, Italy, that's kind of like our Lisbon, everything and all the houses, it's like all clutter and everything,
Yes.
and like a lot of older people, especially like in places that it's very normal to have restaurants, bars, like people there is places that are very touristic. So here you don't see that as much. So everything is a little bit more far.
I was doing the interview to the person of Denmark, your neighbor country,
Yeah.
and they were saying exactly this, that Sweden has the possibility of also testing this because of the length of the country.
Yeah.
And if something happens in one city, kind of stays in that city, and that there's no much not so much density of people. And of course, as you are very qualified to say, the habits, the culture of the people also help.
Yeah,
I
that's
cannot
why.
see that happening in other countries.
Yeah.
Okay, and is there anything that is closed at the moment? Are all business open as usual, or is there anything that had to close?
Um, well, everything is open. I think except because since myself, we are doing quarantine, like, we are doing our own lockdown. I
Mhm.
don't go out except actually just for, going to supermarket, or exceptionally, I just went with my husband when he broke his finger. I went with him to the hospital because he couldn't open some doors and stuff. Um, but everything is open. So I think some of like maybe bars in clubs, I think they have like special measures for that. Some restaurants I know they're doing, they're not allowing or not allowing to have like full book restaurants. They only have like they have permit for just a few people, so they have like that social distancing. But like I said before, I've been like to restaurants here that they are not even full because people don't go out as much. I'm the thing is like I'm also talking about more my area here, right? There, of course, there may be my areas that are more like crowded, but I honestly don't believe also that as
You are
much.
very close to the border. Do you see a lot of that since the borders are open? Do you see a lot of Danish people coming over to enjoy the not lockdown that is happening there?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm not sure about one thing because you said like the borders are open. They are open from Sweden side, kind of, right? But from the other countries, they're not as much as open. So in fact, Sweden is their borders closed by defect, right? They like the other countries they close it. Sweden doesn't need to close it because they already close it by the other countries.
Yeah,
So
they just enjoy the fact that the other ones are taking some
yes,
measures. But the information I have is that from Denmark it's still allowed for Danish. Swedish people cannot go inside of Denmark, but Danish people can go in and out. That's the
yeah.
information I have.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going to give the example that my mother-in-law, well, she lives also here nearby us, but she works in Denmark and she's not going because she can't. Actually, she came, her and her husband, they came sick from Denmark. They stayed sick for 2 weeks. And that's why I was saying that they went to the hospital and
Mhm.
they was sent back to home without being tested. Um, but I heard, yes, some situations about some people from Denmark coming here, especially to party a little, even though it's like groups under 50 people. But I think not as much because I think people are also conscious. So I believe those are more like young people trying to break a little bit the laws. um, so again, I think Sweden is, it's gaining by other countries' measures, which will not affect, yeah, as much.
And overall, do the people agree with the government? Do they agree with these measures, or are any voices against that would like to be more precautious? So, how
Yeah,
popular is the government at the moment?
yeah. There's like a lot of voices they are like against, that they think that Sweden should have done what other Scandinavian countries did. They gave a lot of the example of Finland and Norway, also Denmark. But others, yeah, they agreed with the government. They're happy with it.
Yeah.
But I also
Are
believe,
those voices against it? Are they coming from, let's say, normal people, or anyone that is more in the risk group, or from associations? Where are they coming from?
Uh, well, both things that you said, but also like from the scientist, like the science perspective. Um, well, I actually cannot remember the name, but I'm willing to give you some links for you then
We
to.
can put it again on the
Yeah,
comments. We can do that.
exactly, because I also don't like to talk about it without previously know what I'm talking about. So I just don't want to say it out loud without having some notion about it. But I know there are like some medical people that they're against that situation. But in fact, well, what Sweden, is talking about is herd immunity. So that's what they're trying to gain. So it's something that is still not proven, and with what cost. So people are still dying. So in some perspective, that the people are not agreeing with the government, it's that we could still achieve the herd immunity, but we could still save these people by having some more strict measures. Because in fact, it's like you basically not avoiding to infect people, you are willing to infect people, and in the meantime people are dying. So we have some like random people saying saying out loud that you know they are just old and weak. So it's basically like, yeah, whatever, they're just going to die. So might as well just die for the sake of the herd immunity, which a lot of us think it's wrong to do that, and even to say that. So
Yeah, we did you hear the when um, I forgot who was it. There was someone. I forgot who was it. In Portugal, they said that now we have to give the space to the young, and we're not that important. And a
uh,
lot of people defended him in Portugal.
yeah, the
I
thing is
was
like,
really not happy because at the end of the day, fine, if you want to do it, that fine, it's an individual's choice. But
yeah,
saying that and try to voice out all the elderly people under your opinion, it's really take away the freedom of elderly people to live if they want to enjoy life if they want to
exactly, exactly.
be in contact with other people through whatever which way they can. And this view that some people have of okay they're not living anymore and anyway it
Yeah,
really breaks my heart. I'm pro freedom, and this is one of the things that I voice strongly against this perspective.
yeah, exactly.
So
In my opinion, it's like because what they normally say, this kind of people is like elderly already have some kind of like underlying disease. They already like are suffering, or they only have like 1 or 2 more years to live. And I'm like, no, that's a lie. Even if you have an underlying disease, like I'll just give the example of my mom. My mom already like had 2 heart surgeries. She has uh it's not like she has like a machine. It's not a pacemaker, but yeah, let's call it a pacemaker. And she done that on her early 40s. So the thing is, like, she's already now 65, and she's still very well. She works. She's an attorney. It's like she's not in a bad hospital, but she besides her heart condition, she also have other some underlying disease that for this situation makes her a critical patient. If she gets COVID-19. So I'm saying, like, so I'm willing to kill my mom so I can live. No, my mom can still live
it's
like
not for you to leave, it's
naturally
for,
for
for
at
you to go
least,
to the restaurant. That's what
yeah, or to cut my hair. I was like, come on, that's not how how it works. My mom can still live at least 10, 20, or even 30 more years. We don't know, because in 10 years, who knows if she can get another surgery and have like a better machine for her heart. you know so saying that these people, and I give you the example of my mom, that she's like in a age and she has an underlying disease, that so just because she has all these problems, that she needs to be you know uh, give to this herd immunity just to for the youngsters. It's like, no, I don't think it's fair. I really don't think it's fair. And also, just to add to the conversation, that, for example, I have people also in my family, youngers, that, for example, have asthma. Also, my mom has. So I have my sister and her kids, they also have asthma. So it's like I have like 3 generations here, that they are like risk patients. So it's like, so we are going to put them, like, okay, let's infect them, let's let them, like, pass through all the treatments. Maybe they live, maybe they don't live, just because I'm healthy, and I want to see my economy keep being steady and not having problems with my work. I'm having problems with my work. I'm suffering right now. I'm not you know
so what
uh,
has been, you're saying that you've been in lockdown, so your daily life, how was it, how is now, what were the changes?
Well, the thing is, like, since I work at this moment mostly online, and I have my clothing line. I have other business that they were starting, as having the affiliation of WNBF in Portugal. That it's a natural bodybuilding competition. Sorry, my English. And the thing is like everything, it's like kind of like in pause because of all this situation. I saw my business, being stopped, sales went down and everything. My husband's work, now he has also less work. So yeah, I had some situations that I needed to choose if I needed to invest or I needed to hold back, because of all the situation, not because of Sweden itself, but because it's like our kind of work, my kind of work, it's kind of like worldwide. So if the world stops, I stop. So it doesn't matter actually if Sweden it's not in a lockdown. I prefer to be in a lockdown to prevent of getting sick. But I also want to prevent others getting sick if I am. So I'm in a self lockdown.
See what, and from your perspective, what can you see that can be the future in your industry? Is it, do you think, is anything going to change? As far as as we know, or let's assume that coronavirus is not going anywhere. It
Yes.
might be more stronger or weaker, but it's not going anywhere. In the fitness industry, do you see anything being reinvented? Do you see anything being uh, brought back to life? How do you see it?
Um, well, that's actually a good question that I've been thinking a lot. Even like I'm trying on my area, see what I can do different. Um, but it's really difficult in terms of fitness. And since I coach athletes that they basically do like obstacle courses, that it means that you need to go outside, you cannot do at home, and you have competitions with others. So it's a little bit complicated, but somehow maybe we definitely need to change. We need to implement more measures that will be more efficient for us to prevent these situations to happen. Simple things as just like using masks. Like for example, in Asia it's super normal. If you're sick, the first thing that people do is using masks to prevent infecting others. In Western countries, if you're sick, if you're with the flu, you still go to work, you cough in everywhere, you still talk with people face to face, you don't wear a mask. It's just like those simple things. In my particular space and area, in fitness with a mask maybe will be a little bit difficult. So maybe yeah, online coaching, I think it's going up a lot, but at the same time it brings a lot of people, they are not coaches, with their home workouts and celebrities and everything. So it's kind of a little bit messed up, because now everyone it's a coach and give like fitness advice. So it's a little bit complicated also in this area. So to be honest, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be. And yeah, especially in gyms, it's like if someone has a gym, it's going to be very complicated. And because yeah, people need to go to the gym to work out and to pay their fees.
And a lot of people have been, you just said that you've been thinking a lot about this. Every time I'm interviewing someone, there's always this concept of, oh, I had a lot of time to think about X or Y. Is there anything that it has been in your mind? How does, not your routines, but how does your brain is changing with this? Are you thinking more? Are you getting more stressed? Are you thinking more? Are you into philosophy now? What do you think about mankind? Like, what is humankind? Sorry, what is it? What's going on over there in that field?
Well, that's actually a good question. And, some people might find uh, more motivation or being more creative, maybe like in this time of quarantines and lockdowns. I'm a little bit the opposite. I need to be a little bit more active to be a little bit more creative and motivated. So being a little bit more at home, kind of like breaks a little bit more my routine. So yeah, but I think a lot about more in politics right now that I did before, like I explained it to you before. um I was never like a politician person or think about politics. And right now I see myself thinking about it, and you know, trying to think what are the best ways for us to avoid this. And I see so much like little wars, economic wars between West and Asian countries, normally like China, right? But it's kind of like I see that we couldn't avoid this so easily, but I see like politics in between. It makes it like a little bit harder. So I find myself like very interested in this subject, which I was never before, because I'm like a science person. For me, I like to think, like more critical. I like, for me, it's evidence, results, and everything. And having like politics, I was like, I don't understand. Why won't you do this? Because this is what science says, like for you to do. So I find myself a little bit more interested in that part than actually just more philosophy.
Is there
So
anything that you came to a conclusion that you like to change in your life?
uh to change, well, I could change like a lot, but that means that I needed to change also my past. Like in this moment, no.
No breakthroughs.
No, maybe I'll make sure I'll do some, I will vote next time, like for sure,
Okay.
because I see now, I've been slacking a little bit. Maybe, I'm 35 years old. Maybe some people don't know that, because when I argue with some people online, they tend to think that I'm very young.
Well,
Uh,
you do look 34 and a half, I have to say.
yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that, I'm honestly say that I've been slacking a little bit in terms of politics, and I've never thought um, that my vote can actually make a difference until now, because I see a lot of people, like, I'm sorry to say, very dumb people in power in some countries, that now I understand why they get there, and that's why we have so many problems in the world at this moment. And now I have the conscience, with all this, that it doesn't have nothing to do with it, but it has. So it makes me more conscious for me next time to go vote, and vote well, just to prevent, problems to happen in the future, because we need to be more prepared. And that starts also by politicians, right? They need to be
Now
more
we do
science.
see what the politicians right now are more exposed, and we can see more clearly how they think and how they act towards things.
Yeah, and their
Makes
flaws and what they're trying to hide, and even what they are scared of, because they're also people, they're not perfect, right? But at the same time, it's like, it's how fast you react, it's how fast you ask for help. Also, you need to be humble. And that's like little things that I can see, that when we choose a politician, it's not just their what they said they will do, but it's like a package. You need to see the whole package, what that person can bring to the table. So I definitely got more conscious about it, and I'm starting to think, and I want to read some politics books, and I'm like, oh my god, this is not Hilda.
You
It's very
discovered a new self. You're gonna run for European Parliament next voting.
yes, maybe I was like, vote Hilda.
All right, first step of your campaign, this podcast. It's vote for Hilda.
Yes, hashtag vote
I,
Hilda.
I can tell you that I'm looking very much for an AI president that can rule us all.
Why not? Why not?
Exactly, exactly.
If we have things a little bit more control, because I think sometimes, feelings have a huge impact in our actions. And when we let feelings, be in front of some critical thinking, that sometimes can be very bad. Sometimes can be good, sometimes it can be very bad. I'm saying case of like revenge, or being stubborn, instead of like just thinking, or for example putting the economy too much, like first, in not thinking too much also like in human lives, because without human lives you don't have economy as well. So it's like you need to find like a middle term.
I really like that happiness index. It
Yes.
makes a lot of sense to look at that index, not alone to the PIB. All right, Hilda, thank you very much for participating with us. Thank you, the viewers, for watching one more episode. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so you get notified for the latest videos. Thank you very much, and let us know what you think about Sweden's position in the comments.
Thank you. Bye bye.